Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Tuesday Tips, brought to you by Hunt Lift Eat Official. Carter and Keifer back at it again.
What's going on, buddy?
What's up, dude?
Here's your pen clicks.
That's right, back to back. Dude, I just can't help it. I gotta put it down.
I know I keep leaning on the table and I see the screen. I'm like, stop.
All right, back at it again. Archery, bow hunting. I really liked a very recent post that you made. Was it your most recent?
It was yesterday, the day before, the long shots.
Yeah, I really liked that. Talking about long range archery shots for a couple of different reasons, man. But why don't you talk about why that was on your mind, kind of where you were at this past weekend?
Yeah. Jumping right into that. So we were at Mountain Archery Fest. Me and Luke were up there with the booth, and midday everybody was out shooting, and I'm looking at the practice range, and we ranged the scarecrow target at 122 yards. And I was like, Cole looks over at me. He's like, "You shoot from here?" I'm like, "Let me move up just a little bit so I could actually dial my sight to it. I can shoot 120, but I'm guessing just a little on that holdover. The arrow's dropping pretty quick when you're getting out to that distance. So yeah, that's where that post came from. And yeah, I wrote down a few things off of that. Just basically, yeah, the further you can shoot and more often, it's going to make those shorter shots a hell of a lot easier come hunting season. So
Yeah, it makes sense, dude, and that translates to a lot of things, right? Like I think about running. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
if I know I can go bang out 10 miles, like 5K is a no brainer, right? Like you just go.
exactly. You're over prepared at that point. And then you're over prepared. You've built confidence, so that you know in the situation at hand. It's like if I've shot 110 yards all summer and I can hold, a 10, 12-inch pie plate at 110, 40, 50, you got your elk hunt coming up. Like, man, an elk walks into 35 yards. It's like a no brainer. You're picking a hair and you're going to hit it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, just kind of going back off of that post. Yeah, you hollered at me and were like, man, I really dig that. Um, it does. It makes perfect sense. So starting from the beginning of that is your shot process is the exact same. Um, Guys will get caught up. Oh, like the further out, I've never shot that far. Like I'll never shoot that far at an animal. I hear that one all the time. It's like I'm not condoning shooting at 100 yards at an animal. Like
Yeah.
just because you can do it doesn't mean you should ethically take the shot. A follow-up shot if you already have an arrow in an animal, you know, then it does creep in of like, okay, what's ethical? Like, should I get another arrow in? How are they behaving? Are they just going to stand there, fall over, or are they in a position that I need to try to get another arrow in them? A gut shot, or
Yeah.
if you've been bow hunting long enough, it's going to happen. It's unfortunate. It's just part of the game, but you got to do your due diligence in the off season. So shooting those longer distances matters. Um, with that, so yeah, shot process. You're going through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're building that up just like you would at 10 yards. It's the same as you work your way out. The only thing that I look at as a difference, as my rule of thumb, is if at 20 yards you can hold a 2-inch group, at 40 yards it should be a 4-inch group.
Mm.
60, 6 inches, 80, 8 inches. Um, if you're shooting 100 and you're 2 feet this way and 2 feet that way, back it back down and build yourself up, build your confidence. Every good archer I know, they'll tell you if they're not shooting confident, it'll relate downrange.
Yeah.
So you have to build yourself up. You have to know when to hang your bow up because maybe you're fatigued, maybe you went too hard at the gym and you're just like you're not getting good reps. I've talked about it before where I'd rather you take 5 good intentional shots and make them count than just shoot 100 arrows. There's a different time and place to work on strength and stamina and to be not fatiguing through shooting. But ultimately, when you're hunting, you get 1 arrow, right? Maybe 2, maybe 3. Hopefully, that first one counts. So, but yeah, start there. I don't know what else I got wrote down. Yeah, questions on that. I mean, what's the furthest you've shot? Coming on the East
Furthest
Coast.
I shot was at Math when
Okay.
you and I were together a couple weeks ago in April, and I did that course as my first 3D course. Prior to that, 60 yards, maybe winging one at like 70, just like flinging it back
Yeah.
a couple years ago. Like my buddy Avery was like, "Man, why don't you see if you can hit it?" Didn't, not even close. Arrow gone forever, kind of thing.
But
Uh,
you had fun doing that.
oh, it was the best, dude. It was fun. But
Watching that arrow just sail, you're like,
yeah,
this is
it's way
pretty
cool.
cool.
At Math, I shot a target at 93 yards, which that was a huge first for me because like
Dude, that's awesome.
I had been losing, I'd lost 2 or 3 arrows because it was tougher than I'm used to practicing. Right, I'm a backyard kind of
Yeah.
20, 25 yard, 30-yard target kind of guy. I bow hunt just to get in the woods earlier than rifle. And after talking to some of you guys, like you and Chad and Perry, and figuring out that I can use actual other pieces on my housing as pins, right? You told me about using your top of your bubble or whatever.
Yeah.
So I kind of had worked my way out to longer and longer distances that day and hit one at 60 something and then was like close, like really close, right over the back at 70 something. And then I was like, Chad was like, dude, just send it. Like, let's see. And then drilled it at 93. That was a huge confidence booster. And like, I kind of feel like you're saying, like, shoot confidently. I wasn't stressed because I was like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, whatever happens, happens. And just kind of ripped it. And then, and I was like, that was the coolest thing ever. That was so cool.
And I mean, that's it. I remember there at Math, what was it, that water buffalo or
Yep.
Cape buffalo we were shooting at like 112 from the last target.
Yep.
Make sure there's nobody on the course behind targets. Make sure it's safe. I'll throw that one in there. But yeah, I remember just and drilling that 12 ring, and I was I knew I could do it, but to do it in front of like 5 or 6 of you guys, I was
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah, confidence is up.
How does that feeling? Yeah.
And then we went to the next target, and it was like 150, and I had never shot over 125 ish, so that was something new to me. And first arrow hit the target, left to right was off and that's kind of goes into the next portion of that why you shoot longer distances, because it magnifies, right? It magnifies all your breakdowns in form. So, and I knew it the second that I shot. I'm like, oh, I pulled left, and sure enough, I watched that arrow just float. And at 150 yards, it's not floating 2 or 3 inches; it's floating 2 or 3 feet.
Right.
Uh, and that's a big one because it'll expose. You can get away with a lot, especially with modern bows shooting as fast as they do. Um, you can get away with some form, technical stuff under like probably 35, 40 yards that when you look downrange, you shoot a 4 or 5 arrow group, you're like, okay, it's not too bad. But if you jump out to 80 and you do start seeing those flyers, 6, 7, 8 yards away from what you're aiming at, or yards, inches, it's like, okay, something's going on. I'm torquing my grip, or I'm not following through. I'm just hitting my release. What we were talking about in the last one, where you're a little off center, and you know, if you've ever shot a recurve, you actually can curve the arrows.
Mhm.
Like you can just release away from your face and it'll curve the arrow. You can release in and it'll curve the opposite direction. You've probably seen those on TikTok, and
Yeah.
you're like, how the hell do they do that? They're just manipulating the string. So when you're actually trying to make a good shot, you need that perfect triangle and perfect release coming off the backside, so it goes straight down the middle.
Yeah.
Um, and then that comes into your tuning of your bow. As long as your bow's tuned, 90% of the people out there can't outshoot a tuned bow with today's technology. Um, that's why I'm a big focus on form and shot process. You guys hear me all the time. Like, I don't care if you change your arrows. Like, let's learn how to shoot first.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, exposes, magnifies, breakdowns in form, builds up confidence, and then I mean we already kind of touched on it, man. At the end of the day, it's just fun.
Yeah.
um, you know, seeing what your bow can do, what you can do. Again, confidence, and that comes into effective range. So as you build that confidence, you're shooting longer distances. You can go through some of those hunting scenarios, different things. You start to learn, okay, I can shoot 100 yards standing. Well, from a seated position, I can't get perfect. Maybe it's 60 yards, I can hold the same groups. Like, so that's a big learning your effective range from different shooting positions. That's something to add in. So as you shoot further, longer, more regular, consistent. I know it's hard. Like, I grew up in Pennsylvania. I lived in Florida, and the backyard was 25 yards. It was like, oh, I don't need to do that. Like, I don't need to go make it a point to go shoot further. Um, Texas, I was living in an apartment, shooting down the parking lot like midday because I was working nights. So, um, yeah, didn't shoot anybody or any dogs. Uh, but you just have to make it intentional. Like, find somewhere, somebody has a bigger yard, take a target, go to most archery ranges now. They understand that the equipment can do it, so they're making those static ranges out to 100 yards. Just go out and try it.
Yeah.
Learn your equipment
Yeah.
kind of thing. But
That's what I would say, man. If you haven't, go try it.
I know you just moved. How far in the backyard do you have now?
We have 3 acres, so I've slowly been accruing more targets. Kind of build my own little. I've got 3 targets now, and can kind of build my own little mini 3D course. And it's kind of terraced, and there's woods and all sorts of stuff. So it's not a bad setup. But from my porch, I can hit 60 before I'm outside of the fence, and then I'm in the woods.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just practicing. I mean, you've got your elk hunt coming up. What's your right now? I mean, we're gonna work together, but what's your idea? Where do you want to get to? What's your threshold?
I'd like to be super happy at 50.
Okay, so and you just got a new site, right?
Yeah. I haven't
So
shot yet.
at Mountain Archery Fest, you shot 93 yards. What site were you using? Fixed pin, slider?
Five fixed pin.
Yeah. So to hit 93 yards, because I imagine your fifth pin was probably at 60,
Yeah.
maybe 70.
Yeah.
Um, no, that's a big boost, right? And that's where I get that question all the time of like, why should I go to a slide? Why should I move to an adjustable site? Uh, Goes back to the fun side. When you're limited by your equipment, and I remember when we were shooting the course, you were like, oh, I can't get out that far. You mentioned that it's like when your equipment's limited and like you could probably do it,
Yeah.
you don't have as much fun shooting.
Right.
Um, so answer that question. I always suggest a slide site. You can work with it. Like I said, you can learn your pin gaps, even off a single pin. You know, coming out of the bottom, I know guys that have put white tick marks halfway down that post. Use that as a second reference point. Uh, yeah, just that's a big one.
Yeah, I like that a lot, man. It has to be fun. If it's not fun, why are you doing it? You know what I mean?
At the end of the day, this was a good question. Ben from Sodak Horizons, he asked me this in Illinois at Mountain Archery Fest. He was like, dude, if you, how did he word it? It was like, if you had to make the choice, would you shoot your bow year round, but you could only shoot, or you could only hunt with a rifle, or you couldn't shoot year round, but you could only bow hunt?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's easy. I'd give up bow hunting. Like, I'll hunt with a rifle, but I need to be able to shoot my bow year round. Just from it's a passion. The actual archery side, the sport of archery is a passion of mine. And most people I've asked that question to lately are like, yeah, dude, it's free therapy. Like I could walk out and just shoot arrows and like check out and just be focused on one thing. Um, so yeah, ultimately have fun, enjoy it. It's yeah, if you're not enjoying it, that's where having the right bow set up to you. I can get on a soapbox about this, but if the bow's not set up to you, you're not going to enjoy it because you're not going to be able to hit. You're not going to be able to build consistency. Like my first bow I bought used from my best friend's dad. It was like an inch and a half too long of a draw length. And I was just slapping my arm every shot. And I took like 10 shots and I was like, dude, these bow hunters are freaking badasses. Like if they do this every single time, I'm like, I don't know if this is for me. Like, and then I went to a shop, I got it adjusted, and then I started shooting. I was like, oh, this is way more fun. I'm not killing my arm. I'm not. And that's where, I mean, we talked about your arrows. Like, pick your arrow, run the same arrow because you need the same ballistics trajectory. Um, so you actually enjoy it because you know now, and it's part of that shop process where the last step is always going to be feedback. And when you can't pinpoint what you did, then you can't change it. So on those 100-yard shots, like I said, it's like when I pull, boom, it goes off. As soon as it goes off, I'm able to tell like, oh, it's going to be 3 feet left. Like,
Yeah.
and when the arrow's in the air that long, as soon as I release, I can turn around and I can tell you 2 feet left. Whack, it's going to hit the target, and you're going to be like, how the hell? Like you just have that many reps and consistency, so you're able to start backtracking, pinpointing how to do it, and then ultimately that makes it more fun because you know how to address it going forward.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that. We'll work. We're gonna work through that.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Yeah. I love that, man. In the meantime, keep it fun.
Yeah.
And how about this? Any listeners, come on and tag go on Instagram and take a video of you shooting your longest shot. And maybe we'll make this a little competition. Whoever can hit the furthest target and still have fun. I'll send you guys a hat and a t-shirt. So go on when this episode drops. You guys have a week until the next one drops. A week, Tuesday.
Heck
Um,
yeah. I dig that.
yeah, tag the Hunt Lift Eat podcast, tag Keifer. Let's see how many folks we can get involved in here with a longest shot competition.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Take a 8-inch pie plate, 8-inch paper plate, put it on your target. If you hit, put a little dot center, and then take it out as far as you want. I mean, heck, we just shot 172 at the Utah Mountain Archery Fest. A couple of the guys, Ethan from Red Patch, and a couple of us were just sitting at the practice range, and I was like, how far is that deer out there? Of course, us competition. As soon as you mention it, everybody's like, I'll do it. I'll sling them. So, and that's what's fun. So, yeah, no, that'll be fun. Do a little competition around that. And like you said, tag us. Let's see what we can do. I'm looking out of the yard right here. I can get like 97 from the porch. So, but I can find somewhere to get further. I'll just start shooting into the neighbor's field.
There you go. He'll be all right.
But
Cool, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, dude. Appreciate it. And yeah, listeners, as always, appreciate the hell out of you guys.